want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of Animation Movies Revisited, where we take a look back at some of the greatest animated films and rediscover the reasons they've left a lasting impression throughout the years. In this episode, we'll be riding a red car down the Sunset Strip, where a private investigator named Eddie Valiant is about to accept a case that will take him from the wacky warehouses of the Acme Corporation to the outskirts of Toontown. So, pour yourself a few fingers of Jack Daniels, load up your animated six-shooter, and get ready to investigate Robert Zemeckis' live-action animated classic, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? It was the summer of 1988 and I was 7 years old. Disney's DuckTales was at the height of its popularity, and handhelds made by Tiger Electronics were some of the hottest games in town. To beat the heat, my mom surprised me with tickets to see Who Framed Roger Rabbit at our local theater, where the air conditioning was plentiful, and buttered popcorn got served alongside a cold collector's cup filled with cherry Coke. At this stage of my evolution, I had already seen live-action features that included animated elements, like Pete's Dragon, Mary Poppins, and Pink Floyd's The Wall. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what I was about to experience that day. Who Framed Roger Rabbit wasn't just special, it was an awakening, and something that would change the way that I admire animation forever. The arduous journey to bring Who Framed Roger Rabbit to the silver screen began in 1981, when Walt Disney Productions purchased the rights to Gary K. Wolfe's novel, Who Censored Roger Rabbit? While the film and novel feature several of the story's core characters, a legion of elements of the movie are substantially different from Wolfe's book. In Wolfe's version, Roger is a B-tier comic strip character who hires a hard-boiled private detective to uncover why his employers, the DeGreasy brothers, have retracted a vow to grant him a comic strip of his own, and instead are entertaining the thought of selling his contract to an unknown buyer. After a bit of snooping, Roger learns that there never was a mystery buyer, and that the reason the DeGreasy brothers got so slippery about the deal is that they don't think that Roger has what it takes to be a star. Tragically, the next time we encounter Roger, we find that he's been murdered in the privacy of his own home. Now, it's up to Eddie Valiant to crack the case, and the list of suspects includes Roger's ex-wife Jessica, his co-star Baby Herman, and a photographer named Carol Masters. While gathering testimonies from his catalog of colorful characters, each suspect encourages Eddie to be on the lookout for a kettle as a form of payment for his troubles. It's at this point that Wolfe's version of the story takes a hard left turn at Albuquerque. In the book, it's revealed that the kettle in question is a magic lamp that contains a resentful genie. Having grown sour after thousands of years of servitude to undeserving masters, the genie kills Roger. Flabbergasted by this knowledge, Eddie holds the genie hostage until he can plot a way out of what is surely a preposterous predicament. In the end, Eddie wishes for the proof he needs to solve the case, the act of which unravels an intricate conspiracy involving a murder-suicide and a cowardly doppelganger who's been pulling strings on Roger's behalf. Thanks for watching our show. If you like what you see, like this video and click on the bell to receive notifications every time a new one goes up. Now back to the show. Originally, Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman were hired to pen a script that would adapt Wolfe's unique noir into a blockbuster film. Then, famed filmmaker Robert Zemeckis offered to direct, but Disney was like, "Yeah," after reviewing the box office returns for his two previous films, I Want to Hold Your Hand and Used Cars. While waffling more than an Arizona truck stop diner, Disney spent the next 3 years developing test footage with Daryl Van Keeters as the project's animation director. Hired to play the lead characters were Paul Reubens as the voice of Roger Rabbit, Peter Renaday as Eddie Valiant, and Minnie Mouse voice actress Russi Taylor as Jessica Rabbit. In 1985, the project was given a fresh coat of ink, thanks to then Disney CEO Michael Eisner and the team at Amblin Entertainment, consisting of Steven Spielberg, Frank Marshall, and Kathleen Kennedy. After crunching the numbers, and an impassioned speech from Jeffrey Katzenberg about how the live-action animated hybrid could save Disney's animation department, the Who Framed Roger Rabbit project was approved with a budget of $30 million. With these elements of the endeavor figured out, it was time to take the concept as far as it could go.
Hold still, will ya?
Does this help?
Yeah, thanks.
To do this, Disney asked Spielberg to broker agreements between numerous animation houses that would allow for the use of their characters in the film. Among those on board with this monumental merging of brands were Warner Brothers, Felix the Cat Productions, Turner Entertainment, Fleischer Studios, King Features Syndicate, and Universal Pictures. Each company had its share of reservations about lending its characters to the film. Some even tried to negotiate contract clauses that would dictate the way certain characters were portrayed. While most studios were hip to the idea of granting the filmmakers creative license, it was Warner Brothers who took particular umbrage with how several of its flagship characters would be represented. As a result of the dispute, Disney agreed to work alongside Warner Brothers by drawing the characters using an agreed-upon art style. The studio also hired several of the original Looney Tunes voice actors to reprise their roles. While it might have taken some extra effort, honoring WB's demands resulted in Who Framed Roger Rabbit being authentic AF, and the movie is better for giving the filmmakers access to a seemingly bottomless toy box unfettered. Disney originally offered the job of directing Who Framed Roger Rabbit to Terry Gilliam, but the Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas filmmaker passed on the opportunity after seeing how technologically involved it all was, a decision he would come to regret. Disney then came crawling back to Robert Zemeckis after he struck box office gold with Romancing the Stone and Back to the Future. As one of his first orders of business, Zemeckis and Spielberg petitioned for Richard Williams to replace Keeters as the film's director of animation. Zemeckis wanted the animation to have Tex Avery vibes, and Williams was a master in the art of Avery-style animation. Before cameras were ready to roll, Zemeckis and his team had plenty of work to do ahead of bringing their version of Roger Rabbit's story to life. The script called for drastic changes to the source material, including an alteration that kept Roger alive for the duration of the film. Thus, Price and Seaman got to work on creating a screenplay that revolves around a Toon-hating detective and the Toon rabbit he's agreed to protect. After Roger is framed for the cartoonish murder of Marvin Acme, the head of the Acme Corporation and owner of Toontown, a prickly private eye named Eddie Valiant begrudgingly agrees to help the rabbit clear his name. As Eddie, Roger, and a bartender named Dolores, played by Joanna Cassidy, strive to keep Roger from being executed by a maniacal capitalist named Judge Doom, the case quickly spirals out of control and becomes a fight for the survival of Toons everywhere. Before the late Bob Hoskins was cast in the role of Eddie Valiant, a lengthy list of acting greats were considered for the part. Originally, Spielberg wanted Harrison Ford for the role, but Ford's price was a considerable amount of simoleons more than the studio was prepared to handle. Next came Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, who both turned the part down for personal reasons. Eddie Murphy was tapped to play Valiant, but passed when he couldn't wrap his mind around the concept of human actors interacting with Toons. In time, Murphy came to regret his decision, saying that he feels like an idiot every time he watches Who Framed Roger Rabbit, knowing that it could have been him acting alongside the rascally rabbit. Other actors who were considered for the role were Robin Williams, Sylvester Stallone, Jack Nicholson, Robert Redford, Ed Harris, Wallace Shawn, Charles Grodin, and Don Lane. Of course, the part of Eddie Valiant ended up going to Stay and Mermaids actor Bob Hoskins, who, coincidentally, also starred as a rock and roll manager in Pink Floyd's The Wall. See? It's all connected, man. When it was time to cast Judge Doom, the filmmakers contacted Clue actor Tim Curry for the rancorous role. Oddly, Curry failed to get the part due to his interpretation of the character being deemed too terrifying. Other actors floated for the dip-dispensing, land-grabbing lawman were Christopher Lee, John Cleese, Peter O'Toole, F. Murray Abraham, Roddy McDowall, Eddie Deason, and Sting. Ultimately, the part ended up going to Christopher Lloyd, whose role as Emmett Lathrop Doc Brown in Zemeckis' Back to the Future trilogy is the stuff of legend. As for Roger and Jessica, the voice of Roger Rabbit was performed by Charles Fleischer, with Serial Mom and Body Heat actress Kathleen Turner lending her seductive sounds to Jessica, Roger's enchanting wife, and more or less the reason that Rule 34 was invented. As Price and Seaman mined the Golden Age archives of Walt Disney and Warner Brothers cartoons, the dynamic duo explored an array of ideas that would set the film apart from Wolf's original novel.
I don't want the drink.
He doesn't want the drink.
He does.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You do.
I don't.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
I do.
You don't.
Listen, when I say I do, that means I do.
In addition to keeping Roger alive for the duration of the story, they introduced the Cloverfield streetcar subplot that was inspired by two things: Roman Polanski's Chinatown and the real-life upheaval against the Pacific Electric Railway, a privately owned mass transit system that ran through the streets of Southern California. The red car plot added a political edge to Judge Doom's malevolent motivations to destroy Toontown and painted him as a Nazi-esque figure whose methods for erasing the Toon population can be linked to Adolf Hitler's final solution. When Richard Williams was hired as the animation director for Who Framed Roger Rabbit, his participation came with a lofty demand. Repulsed by the ever-present loom of Disney bureaucracy, Williams demanded that the production be moved from Los Angeles to England, where Walt Disney Animation UK was based. With an ambitious script written and cameras ready to roll, it was finally time to conjure a torrent of movie magic unlike the world had ever seen. To create the masterpiece that is Robert Zemeckis' Who Framed Roger Rabbit, storyboard artists plotted the film using a series of sequential drawings that told the entire tale. Zemeckis and his team then filmed the live-action footage first, which prompted the actors to pantomime their interactions with the Toons. Using VistaVision cameras equipped with motion control technology, the studio captured a collection of images that would be combined with animation at a later point in the filmmaking process. Every frame of live-action footage was then made into a still photograph. These images were given to the animators to combine with hand-drawn cells that accounted for every frame in the film. No computers were used in the making of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'll say that again, because I think it bears repeating. No computers were used in the making of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This means that someone had to draw every minute detail of the Toons, frame by frame, then hand paint all of the colors onto every cell. The total number of cells hand-drawn for Who Framed Roger Rabbit is 82,000, amounting to 55 minutes of total animation. The process of bringing the Toons to life required a painstaking procedure. First, the Toons would have to be captured by the camera on their own. Then, that footage was sent to Industrial Light and Magic, where the characters would be filmed as a matte, complete with backlighting, highlights, and shadows. Next, the images were run through optical printers, which combine the live-action footage with the animation. If any of this sounds unbelievable, you're not the only one who is skeptical about this extensive exercise in filmmaking. Before Zemeckis and his team could get the show on the road, they needed to prove to Disney that it could be done. Not only that, it had to look damn good. So, the filmmakers created a proof-of-concept short to prove that their methods were sound, and that audiences would be floored by their efforts. The test featured footage of Eddie and Roger engaging in an argument while walking through a dimly lit alleyway. Throughout the scene, Roger could be found knocking over boxes, being manhandled by an exasperated Eddie, and fully interacting with real-world props. Executives were blown away by the footage and enthusiastically blessed Zemeckis' plans to create what is essentially 3 films in one: a period film noir, a feature-length animated marvel, and a special effects movie. While many of the actors were professionally trained in the art of mimicry, they did have the benefit of working with puppets that served as a substitution for the real thing. To help the cast establish their sightlines, and give them something to act alongside before cameras were ready to capture a real take, the filmmakers used rubber dolls as stand-ins for each Toon. While these props weren't the most durable of doppelgangers, they did provide the cast with something to punch, throw, and interact with before it was time to take the dolls away and shoot Hollywood's wackiest Invisible Man movie of all time. Another way of bringing the Toons to life included the manufacturing of machines that could reproduce a variety of gestures executed by the Toons. Additionally, Disney unleashed an army of puppeteers that could make real-world objects move around the set. In terms of design, Roger's red, white, and blue color scheme was inspired by the American flag, a way of appealing to the film's target audience. And then there's Jessica. Oh, Jessica. What? I'm sorry, I forgot you were here. Where was I? The design for Jessica Rabbit was modeled after 1940 siren actresses of Hollywood's Golden Age era. I'm talking about such seductresses of the silver screen as Veronica Lake, Rita Hayworth, Grace Kelly, and Yvonne DiCarlo. Drawn with the intention of setting private parts on fire, Jessica Rabbit was designed to be a perfect 10 balance of reality and Toons. She was the ideal Toon bride, and good God, the artist broke the mold when they made her. The score for Who Framed Roger Rabbit was composed by Zemeckis' frequent collaborator, Alan Silvestri. Performed by the London Symphony Orchestra, the music combines elements of jazz with jaunty show tunes. Whether you're slinging back shooters at the Terminal Bar or avoiding weasels along the border between Los Angeles and Toontown, the music of Who Framed Roger Rabbit will have you craving the smooth grooves of Miles Davis or digging through your DVDs for those Looney Tunes Golden Collection box sets. Before Roger Rabbit was unleashed in theaters, the studio ran a series of sneak peek screenings to test the waters. Unsurprisingly, the first screening was a disaster on account of the film being screened for an audience of 17 to 18-year-old dude bros out for a hot night on the town. Disney, come on. You knew this wasn't going to be your target audience. What were you thinking? Thankfully, audiences responded better to the film with each new version, and before long, the studio was confident that it had a bona fide blockbuster on their hands. Although the stuffy suits at Disney felt that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a tad lewd, it was Zemeckis who held the power of approving the final cut of the film. After listening to Disney's prudish concerns, he decided not to change a damn thing, and released the film the way he and the animators intended. The film opened in the United States on June 22, 1988, grossing $11.2 million in 1,045 theaters during its opening weekend, handily securing the coveted top spot among films like Big, The Great Outdoors, Willow, Red Heat, and others. After several weeks at the box office, Who Framed Roger Rabbit collected $156.4 million in worldwide receipts, confirming its status as a runaway success. Disney was overjoyed by the returns, but then there was Wolf, who claimed that he was owed royalties based on the film's outstanding performance and merchandising plans. After a lot of legal mumbo-jumbo, and Wolf claiming that he was owed at least $7 million in damages, he was awarded a mere $400,000 for his efforts. When awards season rolled around, Who Framed Roger Rabbit received 6 Oscar nominations and won 3 for the following categories: Best Sound Effects Editing, Best Visual Effects, and Best Film Editing. Richard Williams also received a Special Achievement Award from the Academy for animation direction and the creation of cartoon characters. Beyond the original film, Roger Rabbit appeared in 3 theatrical animated shorts, enjoyed a brief comic strip run, and was featured in several video games, including one very frustrating experience on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Seriously, I still have nightmares about that nigh unplayable piece of... You know what? Let's move on. Not only is Who Framed Roger Rabbit one of the best animated films of all time, but it's also one of the greatest films ever made. Period. When Zemeckis and his team set out to make Roger Rabbit, their aim was to create something the likes of which people had never seen. Not only did they accomplish their goal, but they also exceeded expectations in every way imaginable. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is a testament to humankind's ability to harness the wildest parts of their imaginations and share them with audiences hoping to be dazzled by genuine movie magic. Even though the act of bringing live action and animation together had been done before, it had never been executed as flawlessly as it was in this movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit proved beyond the shadow of a doubt that filmmakers could make worlds collide, and that acting alongside many of the most beloved animated characters ever created was well within our grasp. Beyond the film's technical prowess and next-level visual effects, Who Framed Roger Rabbit is also a riveting noir that tells an engaging mystery that's fun for the whole family to uncover. It's also a rare example of Titanic Studios agreeing to share their toys for the sake of making something unique, boundary-breaking, and timeless. While animation has evolved over the years since Roger Rabbit was released, no other live-action animated hybrid has been able to capture the wonder, creativity, and staying power of this film. It's for these reasons and more that I'll be giving Who Framed Roger Rabbit an unquestionable 10 out of 10 Buzz Lightyears. I was there 34 years ago when this film was released, and it's only gotten better with age. There's something for everybody in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it's been my pleasure to bring it back into the spotlight for you all to enjoy. Before I disappear back into Toontown to research our next episode, I'd like to close this out with my favorite quote from the film. "A laugh can be a very powerful thing. Why sometimes in life, it's the only weapon we have." That's all, folks. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. Joblo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.